Anyway.
Yeah, I kind of prefer him losing that one now.
Because you're curious. Because you see this Denver Nuggets team, and you see them come back 3-1 against the Jazz. You will see them do this against the Clippers, maybe. So then I'd be curious as to what that team could do against the Lakers. So that the bigger curiosity is that now it's surpassed Lakers Clippers. It really has. For me, it has. But probably the Clippers are going to handle business. We'll see.
That's wild stuff.
Maybe we'll talk about it. Who knows?
All right. Okay. Speaking of Kawhi Leonard and the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let's dive right into it,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
So the Denver Nuggets came back from, was it a 19-point deficit to beat the Clippers?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're headed to a Game 7.
Game 7.
Like, Jimmy, they won 111-98. Second half, I think they outscored them like 30. It was an absurd amount they outscored them in the second half. It was
like 62 to 30.
Yeah, like 30 something.
It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. I had the number in front of me and lost it, but it's something that should not have happened. Let's put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's not something to argue. There's nothing to even, So now it looks like the Clippers are on the verge of basically blowing a 3-1 series lead.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, do you see the Nuggets taking this from you?
I don't. The Clippers still have the best player in the series in Kawhi Leonard, who's been in, as we just talked about, 4 Game 7s before. He's been here. And I think Paul George may have had some Game 7s against LeBron's Miami Heat team as well. So they have veteran guys who have been here before. I know that the Nuggets are playing with house money. They're not afraid. They're loose. They're having fun. They've come back from 3-1 before, so they actually believe that they can do it. But in a Game 7, and technically this would be a Game 7 on the Clippers' home court, even though the bubble's different, I know. I'm still going to take the team with the best player on the court. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not nervous to say that. I don't think they cover the 7 points. And here's the reason why I'll be a bit nervous to say that. In this last game, Kawhi Leonard had 25, Paul George had 33 for a combined, 58?
Yep.
So they showed up. It's one thing to lose a game 6, and Kawhi was off or Paul George was off. No, they scored points. It's everybody else who didn't show up in a Game 6 that they know they needed to finish in order to get them out of the way and focus next on the Lakers. So the fact that Kawhi and Paul George basically did their jobs, they weren't great, but they did their jobs in this game and they still lost, that would scare me. If I'm Doc Rivers, I'm terrified of that prospect, that they could show up again and still not be good enough to beat this team with all these guys. Some of them I know, some of them I don't, and they're just out there having fun.
Yeah.
So, but I think the Clippers are going to win it probably anywhere from 3 to 5 points. I don't want them to. I want the Nuggets to win it because they've become somehow the most fun team in the playoffs. But in a Game 7 like this, I think you stick to what you know. You go chalk and you pick the Clippers to win this game, and that's what I think will happen.
So I'm looking at this. The Clippers, the Nuggets in that game, the Nuggets, everybody was in the plus, on the plus minus, either at 0 or up.
Uh-huh.
Whereas Paul George is a minus 23,
and he scored 33 points.
He was a minus 23. Kawhi was a minus 1.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, when they pulled Kawhi off the court and had Paul George leading out there with the team, they were getting abused.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be the best perimeter defensive team in the league.
Yeah.
This is an indictment of who they're supposed to be. But at the same time, you got to remember this too. You know, the Clippers have never been to the conference finals before, right?
I do know that, yes.
So it feels like the Clipper curse, similar to the way the Browns are.
The culture.
The culture's coming back.
Yeah, the curse of the culture.
The curse of the culture, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Not clutch culture.
Right.
Cursed culture.
Cursed culture.
It feels like it's cursed culture right now. And it's starting to show with a lot of these teams. Like, it's coming out. And like you said, it seeps out. The Cowboys, they've got to be cursed as well.
Mediocre.
It's seeping out of their pores. It's showing us who they really are. Even including the next team we're going to talk about in a second. But my last piece on this is, like you said, the Clippers are going to win. They're going to need to get more out of everyone else outside of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is you have to actually get them to produce. And I don't feel like these guys can produce like that. Like, we tried to say that this team is the deepest. Reggie Jackson played 1 minute. Lou Williams had 24 minutes, 14 points, and a minus 10. Their team,
Trez Harrell wasn't there.
Yeah. I'm not sure what he was doing.
Yep.
He had 5 points, but he's a minus 19.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George was the worst plus minus. But you're not going to win this next game and then try to win the next series with Kawhi Leonard playing 41 minutes and Paul George playing 39.
Mm-hmm.
They're not healthy enough. It is showing.
And do you think that even if they do win this Game 7, that when they go up against a well-rested Lakers team, that eventually they're just going to get worn down? Because the same thing may have happened to the Rockets. I don't know. But do you think that that's a possibility? Or if they just get past this Game 7, they can come into this next series against the Lakers on equal terms?
Yes.
Which one?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought, too. That's what I thought, too. Yeah.
No, I think that rephrase that question again.
If they win Game 7, are they going to come into this next series gassed, and the Lakers are going to make fairly quick work of them, or gassed?
Gassed. I see the Lakers winning it in 5.
Mm.
Only because, yes, the Clippers are going to work hard, but kind of like you did on your solo about LeBron and the way he kind of meticulously
diagnose teams. Yeah,
they're going to be watching this game. They'll be prepared for what the Clippers are going to be able to bring out to them.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have watched them before, only because they would have been focused on the Rockets, but they probably watched these last 2 games.
They weren't supposed to have the opportunity to do this because they were supposed to end this in 5, just like the Lakers did.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. So the Lakers get a competitive advantage, and when you give, as you stated, the Peyton Manning of the NBA time like this, that competitive advantage, him and Rondo with Vogel, who's actually a really good mind, no chance.
Well, so then if that happens, do you think this will be like the biggest choke job we've ever seen in a team?
Oh, yeah. Based on expectations, you know how many people have said the Clippers are going to win the championship this year?
Just about everybody.
I never said they were going to win the championship. I always called the Lakers. I said that the Clippers were going to make it good, but they weren't going to win it because they needed time to gel, especially with 2 injured guys. One that's hurt and one that's injured. There was no way they were going to win it this year. Next year, I'd be fearful because they may have time. But now, next year, I don't think they're going to have time because they're going to have time to rest.
Right, quick turnaround.
Quick turnaround. With another quick turnaround.
Dang, I didn't even think about that because I picked...
That's 2 years that the Clippers are losing.
Right, because I picked them to win the finals next year, not this season. This season, I picked the Lakers. But you're right. That pick is in jeopardy if it's just this revolving door turnaround.
Now, for them, the good thing is if they go ahead and get eliminated in the next week, which will be in 5 games.
Might help you save your next season.
They'll basically be out at the end of September, and they'll have October and the beginning of November to prep themselves to get ready for the beginning of December. So that gives them a month and a half to be able to rest and then go back to normal. But you want longer than that. You want them to have 3 months to really sleep on it.
Right.
They're not going to be able to take the typical Michael Jordan break and play golf and smoke cigars. You can't do it.
True.
So.